In today's video, we're going to be covering angles and radian measure. So what I want to start with is drawing an angle in standard position. And what does that mean? That means we draw an angle on the XY coordinate system, but specifically in standard position, we start at the vertex and our initial side runs along the positive x-axis. So let's see if I can fill that in. So this is the x-axis. We have our y-axis. And we have our initial side over here of an angle. And then we have some other side of the angle that we call the terminal side. And what is the angle? The angle is the degree or radian measure of rotation between the initial side and the terminal side. So we can call this usually angle alpha. All right. So generally, we say that the counterclockwise direction is the positive direction. So in this picture up here, this would be a positive angle alpha. As it rotates from the initial side, then it rotates counterclockwise until we get to the terminal side. Clockwise is a negative angle or direction. So, if I draw this angle here and call it theta, then theta is a negative angle and alpha is a positive angle. And I can write that down. Okay. So, the next thing we want to look at is discuss degree measures and radian measures on a circle. So we're going to draw two circles here. My circles will not be perfect, but I will do the best I can. So we start at the initial side along the positive x-axis if we are in standard position. So we call the angle that is in the direction of the positive x-axis angle 0. In degrees, straight up is going to be 90, straight to the left is 180, down is 270, and back over to the right at the positive x-axis is 360 degrees. Oh, that was off to the side. Sorry. And the radians is 0, pi over 2 for the positive y direction. The negative x direction is pi, and the negative y direction is 3 pi over 2. And then back at the positive x direction, we get back to 2 pi. So traveling all the way around a circle for radians is 2 pi, and for degrees is 360 degrees. All right, so let's write down a quick statement about the radians and what the actual definition is of that. One radian is the measure of the central angle of a circle that intercepts an arc of equal length to the radius of the circle. So what does that mean exactly? Let's suppose we have a circle of radius 1. What this means is if we rotate our terminal side until this length is 1, then this angle here has radian measure 1. Just to clarify, to make sure we understand what's going on, suppose we have a circle and this radius is 5, then we rotate the terminal side until this length is 5 as well. What is the radian measure here? That is a radian measure of 1. Okay, so the radian measure of 1 occurs when the arc length here that is intercepted by the arc being this angle, that arc length is equal to the radius of the circle. And it turns out that there are 2 pi radians that go around the circle if we define the 1 radian in this way. Okay. Let's look at a quick statement and then do a couple of examples. So, actually, I lied. Let's do an example first. And example 1 here is find the radian measure of the angle of the central angle, of the central angle of a circle of radius 5 feet that intercepts an arc of length 12 feet. So what we may notice from this previous problem, how do we get 1 from these two values? Well, if we take the arc length here and we divide that by the radius, we get the radian measure. So arc length divided by the radius is equal to the radian measure. So for this particular problem, our arc length is 12 feet, our radius is 5, and so that is the radian measure of the central angle. And so that is the answer to our question, 12/5. All right, and now we will continue on with a quick statement and then a couple of examples. What do we notice from all of the previous information? Well, we notice that pi radians is equal to 180 degrees. So this is how we convert between radians and degrees. So to convert radians to degrees, multiply by 180 degrees divided by pi radians. These two things are equivalent. So what do? We divide by pi radians and we multiply by 180 degrees. This is very similar to some types of calculations you might do in a chemistry course whenever you're converting feet to meters or so. You make a conversion in a similar way. To convert degrees to radians, multiply by pi radians over 180 degrees. So let's do an example like that. Convert the angle measure. So A is going to be 36 degrees to radians. We're going to convert 36 degrees to radians. Well, how do we do that? We take 36 degrees and we multiply this by, to convert from degrees to radians, we multiply by pi radians over 180. So we're going to multiply by pi. We're going to divide it by 180 degrees. Okay, so this is equal to 36 over 180 times pi. 36 over 180, that turns out to be 1/5 times pi. So more often we might write this as pi over 5 radians. We'll do one last example here. And that is 11 pi over 6 to degrees. So anytime we write 11 pi over 6, probably assume that that is in radians. And we're going to convert that to degrees. How do we do that? Well, we look back at our very first statement on how we convert, and to convert radians to degrees, we multiply by 180 degrees over pi radians. Well, if we do that, then the pi's cancel. This pi and this pi cancel. So we get 11 times 180 over 6. 180 over 6 is 30. So this is 11 times 30. Or in other words, 330 degrees. And we'll end this video here.